Perhaps you have been in that situation, speaking but being interrupted, offering an opinion only to be dismissed, or hearing a joke laced with hidden contempt. You smile and let it pass, yet inside a sharp sting remains. Over time, that silence ceases to be peace and turns into surrender. And the very moment you surrender, you hand others the power to define your worth. Stoicism reminds us that respect is not gained by demanding or arguing, but by how we stand with ourselves. When we remain aware, when we choose our response instead of letting others dictate it, we begin to live with an inner strength that cannot be erased. Silence is not escape, but a deliberate choice, a way of affirming your worth without noise. And when you walk with that calm strength, the world will sense it, even if you utter not a single word. So how do we turn silence into power? 1. Presence instead of proof. In modern life, many believe that to earn respect, they must constantly prove their worth by speaking more, showing more, and displaying their achievements for others to see. Yet this noise often obscures true value. Stoicism teaches the opposite. The greatest strength lies not in convincing others, but in being fully present, calm, and free from justification. When you are completely in the moment, when you stand firmly on the ground of self-respect, others sense that certainty without a word of persuasion. To be fully present means you are not consumed by the need for recognition. You do not rush to interrupt just to seem intelligent, nor do you recite accomplishments hoping to be esteemed. Instead, you allow the stillness of your mind to guide your communication. Your eyes follow the person before you. Your posture is steady, and your words arise briefly at the right time. These signals send a clear message. You are not chasing attention. Attention finds its way to you. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you realize that people begin to listen more. In a world where most are rushing to speak, your selective silence becomes rare. People notice you not because you grab attention, but because your composure makes them pause. This calm presence creates a different space, where no raised voice is needed, for your very being carries its own weight. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This means that instead of proving with words, you let your actions and way of life speak. When you live with clear principles, others notice in the smallest details. How you keep your word, how you remain steady in difficulty, how you do not crowd every conversation, but when you speak, it matters. This presence surpasses all justification. Respect cannot be begged for. It is created by living in alignment with yourself. If you must constantly prove, it means you do not yet truly believe in your own worth. But when you accept that your value is not tied to anyone's gaze, you enter a state of freedom. From there, you are no longer dragged into games of comparison or empty competition. Others recognize this, and respect flows naturally not because you demanded it, but because you radiate a strength they cannot deny. To be fully present, in the end, is to practice self-mastery. You are not driven by the urge to prove, nor pushed by the fear of being underestimated. You let inner clarity and tranquility lead. That is when respect arises natural, lasting, and never asked for. 2. Boundaries through action, not argument. Boundaries are the foundation of self-respect. Yet many misunderstand, believing that for others to honor their limits, they must explain, argue, or insist with endless words. In truth, a boundary does not need decoration with reasoning. It is seen and felt through consistent action, not endless debate. Stoicism reminds us, words can be twisted, but actions cannot be denied. Setting boundaries through action means you do not need to shout to be understood. You do not need to complain that someone is wasting your time, energy, or respect. Instead, you quietly shift your behavior, refuse to encourage what is improper, and over time others learn there is a line they cannot cross. This requires no dramatic confrontation, only steadiness in how you choose to respond. In fact, arguments often weaken boundaries rather than strengthen them. The more you explain, the more you open space for negotiation, manipulation, or dismissal. But when you act with clarity without justification, your message lands with far greater force. A decisive silence, or stepping back from an unworthy situation, carries more weight than persuasion ever could. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that our actions must align with our nature. Boundaries, then, are not external rules, but an extension of who you are. If you honor your time, others see it in how you guard it. If you cherish peace, others see it in how you avoid chaos. Boundaries need no announcement. They emerge naturally when you live by your values. By setting boundaries through action, you also teach others how to treat you. Each time you argue, you imply your worth is up for debate. Each time you act with steadiness, you affirm it as untouchable. This is why calmness, withdrawal, or silence hold such power in protecting dignity. Boundaries through action are not rigidity or coldness, but clarity and self-command. They declare to the world that you know who you are, what matters, and that you do not need noise to be acknowledged. Once a boundary is shown through action, it becomes a silent language everyone understands, and respect follows naturally without a single argument. 3. Silence as a mirror. In tense moments, most instinctively rush to defend, argue, or prove themselves with words. They fear that silence will be seen as weakness or submission, but Stoicism teaches a different lesson. Silence, when born of self-mastery and clarity, becomes a mirror in which others are forced to see themselves. Silence is not the absence of voice. It is a powerful presence that exposes the true nature of another's behavior. When you choose silence in provocation, you refuse to join a game designed to pull you down. Others may throw insults, mockery, or anger, but if you do not respond, they face only the hollow echo of their own voice. Silence reflects their insecurity, lack of control, or rudeness without you pointing it out. This is the strength of composure. It proves nothing through argument, but forces others to confront their own error. Seneca once said, "Contempt exists only if we allow it." This means that when you respond to insult with anger, you confirm the offender's power over your emotions. But silence denies that power. The other must stand before your quiet, and in that stillness, they are left to hear themselves. Often, that is the only moment they realize their actions are meaningless. Silence as a mirror also preserves your self-respect. In a world quick to react, your calm restraint gives your presence a different weight. You need no lengthy defense, no proof of right or wrong. Your silence itself declares that your value does not rest in their hands, nor will you enter a futile exchange to defend it. Moreover, silence protects your energy. Every argument drains time and emotion. Unchecked, these lead to fatigue, stress, and regret. But by remaining silent, you keep your composure, and in that composure, you remain master of your life. Others may be unsettled by what your silence reflects, but you are not. You stand steady, untouched by the storm they hope to create. Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to us, but how we respond that matters. Silence as reflection is perhaps the clearest proof of this. It transforms an external attack into an inner test. Can you keep your calm, your self-control, your clarity? When you pass, you not only preserve yourself but also hold up a mirror for others to see truth. In practice, silence is not agreement, nor is it neglect. It is a deliberate choice to rise above chaos. It shows you are strong enough not to be drawn into another's game, and wise enough to know some truths are best conveyed without words. In that silence, others feel your presence more sharply, and respect arises not because you demanded it, but because they see it for themselves. 4. Refusal without justification. There is a truth few dare to face. Every time you decline with a string of reasons and explanations, you unintentionally send the message that your decision is negotiable. Others hear your excuses, and immediately they look for ways to argue, persuade, or pressure you to change. In the end, a clear boundary is turned into an endless dialogue. This is why Stoicism teaches that refusing without justification is an expression of self-respect and inner freedom. When you can say no calmly and firmly, without guilt or explanation, you affirm that your worth is not in the hands of others. Refusal is not an act of ill will, but a conscious choice to protect what matters. The modern world teaches us to always be available, always respond, always keep our doors open to every demand. But when you live this way, you lose control of your time, energy, and peace. Every reluctant yes is a no to yourself. Every anxious agreement pulls you further from what you truly want and need. A clean refusal, without justification, is how you return to yourself the right to live by your values. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that freedom does not come from doing whatever we want, but from mastering what should and should not enter our lives. A clear no is that act of mastery. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that if you want peace, do less and hold only what is essential. Each firm refusal is a step toward that essential path. You need no justification because this choice is not an insult to others, but an honesty with yourself. To refuse without explaining is also to draw a sharp line between what belongs to you and what does not. Others may be disappointed or upset, but their reactions do not define your value. The only thing you are responsible for is clarity and sincerity in your decision. A calm refusal without strain, without lengthy reasoning, is like a mirror reflecting self-control. It declares that you know your right to choose and you need no one's permission to exercise it. At first, refusing without justification may feel uncomfortable. We are used to pleasing others, used to softening tension with excuses. But as you practice, you will discover the peace it brings. You no longer invent needless explanations. You no longer fear judgment. You no longer worry your choice will be seen as selfish. Instead, you feel lighter, more focused, and gradually earn genuine respect because others understand your boundaries are not requests, but principles. 5. Knowing when to withdraw. There is a form of strength most people overlook: the strength of knowing when to leave. In a society that glorifies persistence, relentless struggle, and proving oneself at all costs, withdrawal is often mistaken for defeat. Yet Stoicism shows us that timely withdrawal is not loss, but wisdom and freedom. It is the act of protecting inner value, avoiding wasted energy on what is unworthy, and keeping a foundation of peace to live in accordance with your nature. Withdrawal does not mean turning your back on life or avoiding responsibility. It is simply a deliberate decision not to remain in environments or situations that erode dignity and self-respect. A pointless conversation, an unbalanced relationship, a draining job. These are places where leaving becomes wise. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that what matters is not to live long, but to live in alignment with your nature, and that nature is preserved only when you know how to say enough and walk away. Withdrawal is also an affirmation that your value is not defined by the eyes or approval of others. Many remain in harmful situations because they fear being judged as weak or incapable. But true strength lies not in how long you endure, but in how wisely you let go. To withdraw is to declare that inner peace matters more than outward praise, and that you need not win a game you never wished to play. Stoicism teaches that we cannot control what others do, but we always control how we respond. Withdrawal is such a response, an act of self-command. It is not an emotional outburst, not resentment, but a calm choice to guard your mental space. In that quiet, you reveal you are not easily swayed, not easily consumed, and not compelled to partake in what is unworthy. Others may understand or not, but that no longer matters, because your withdrawal is not against them, it is in defense of yourself. When you know how to withdraw, you also send a powerful message without words. You show you do not need drama, approval, or universal acceptance. Your silence, your absence, becomes a clear declaration that there are standards you will not lower yourself to maintain. Others may feel unsettled or confused, but they will grasp one truth. You respect yourself enough not to be trapped in imbalance. Knowing when to withdraw is ultimately one of the clearest marks of wisdom and strength. It proves you are not afraid to lose what was never yours, and you do not cling to what makes you smaller. You step away, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to see that true value lies in freedom and inner peace. And in that very moment of departure, your presence is affirmed more clearly than ever. 6. Embracing change instead of resisting it. Change is inescapable in life. The world moves, people grow, circumstances shift, and nothing stands still forever. Yet most of us respond to change with fear or resistance. We cling to what is familiar, grasp at what we know, and seek safety and stability. But this resistance only creates suffering, for it wages war against what is natural. Stoicism teaches us, instead of resisting, learn to embrace change as a necessary part of life and turn it into an opportunity to train and to grow. When faced with change, the common reaction is worry and disappointment that things no longer match our expectations. But if you look deeper, you see that expectation itself is the root of pain. We suffer not because things change, but because we insist they remain the same. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The obstacle is the way." His point was that each disruption is not an ending, but the beginning of new possibility. In accepting change, you no longer waste energy clinging to what is gone. You use that energy to find a new path. To embrace change is also to reveal inner freedom. Those who resist change feel thrown into a game they never chose, but those who embrace it see it as part of life's flow. They are not passive, they choose their response. This choice does not erase hardship, but it gives strength, for they know what they can control is not the stream of life, but their own stance within it. A vital part of embracing change is learning to let go. Letting go does not mean abandoning values or responsibility, but releasing old images, ceasing to demand that life follow a fixed script. In letting go, you create space for new opportunities to arrive. And in that space, change ceases to be an enemy and becomes a teacher. Each shift brings lessons in flexibility, patience, and adaptability, the very qualities needed to remain steady in a world always moving. Embracing change does not make you passive. On the contrary, it makes you stronger, for you learn to use even adversity as a stepping stone. Your calm in the face of change sends a powerful message. You are not controlled by circumstances, and you stand firm no matter how the world turns. That steadiness earns respect not because you control the world, but because you control yourself. When you learn to embrace change, you train yourself in the Stoic way of living. Calm in what you cannot control, steadfast in your inner values, and open to opportunity in every condition. Change will always come, but fear remains only with those who have not learned to open themselves. The one who embraces change, instead of resisting it, finds freedom even amid chaos. 7. Holding emotions like a steady flame. In every situation, emotions determine how we act and how others perceive us. The problem is that most people let emotions control them instead of being the ones in control. When angry, they erupt. When afraid, they retreat. When insulted, they react instantly. All these responses share one thing. They make you lose control and hand power to others. Stoicism stresses that to be respected, to live with self-mastery, you must learn to hold your emotions like a steady flame. Not so small it is extinguished, nor so wild it burns out of control. The image of a steady flame is a meaningful metaphor. When a flame burns evenly, without flicker, it gives steady light and warmth. It is useful, reliable, and safe. But when it grows too fierce, it can consume everything around it. So it is with your emotions. They must be nurtured to create inner strength, yet never allowed to cross the line into disorder. When you keep your emotions steady, you show others you are trustworthy, for your actions are not driven by sudden impulses. Seneca once said the best cure for anger is delay. This does not mean suppressing emotions only to explode later, but creating space to regain clarity. In that space, you observe your feelings as an outsider, recognizing them as they rise and touch you, yet not mistaking them for who you are. You may feel anger swell, but instead of acting immediately, you let it settle before responding. That pause is the difference between being a slave to emotion and being master of yourself. When you keep your flame steady, you send a clear message of self-command. Others may provoke, they may test your patience, but they cannot control you. Your calm makes their schemes useless, for no one can manipulate a person who refuses to play their game. This commands respect, for people naturally admire the composure they lack. More than that, holding emotions steady conserves your energy. Every outburst drains strength, leaving fatigue and often regret. But when you remain balanced, you preserve your energy for greater purposes and long-term goals. This is the essence of Stoicism, knowing what deserves your emotional investment, what should be ignored, and never wasting yourself on the meaningless. To keep emotions like a steady flame is to build a presence that commands respect. Others notice not only what you say or do, but how you carry yourself in adversity. A steady flame provides guiding light. A balanced mind inspires trust and credibility. And when you reach this state, you protect your inner peace while becoming a firm anchor in the eyes of others. 8. Cultivating silent pride. There is a kind of pride that seeks no recognition, no applause, no praise. Silent pride. It is not loud, not boastful, but more enduring and deeper than any compliment. Silent pride comes from self-mastery, from knowing who you are, living by your own standards, and never needing words to prove it. In Stoic thought, it is the mark of a free soul, for your value is not tied to outward approval but grounded in inward conviction. Arrogance and pride are often confused, but they are not the same. Arrogance is display. It must be seen and heard. It needs comparison to feel superior. It depends on others to exist, for without an audience, it means nothing. Silent pride needs no comparison, for it is complete in itself. It is like a mountain standing firm, never needing to announce its height because its presence says enough. Those who cultivate this pride walk with stability, untouched by the games of ego and applause. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This applies directly to silent pride. You do not need to declare your worth. Your life and actions reflect it. When you work with dedication, keep your word and refuse to lower your standards for convenience. You build the foundation of self-respect. And from that foundation rises pride that never needs display. Silent pride also means accepting that you cannot control how others see you. You may not be praised. Your efforts may go unrecognized, yet your true value remains unchanged. The Stoic does not seek validation, for they know praise is fleeting while character endures. True pride comes from looking at yourself and knowing you lived by principle. As you cultivate silent pride, your confidence becomes steady. You no longer need to prove, to argue, or to compete in trivial contests. This calm radiates an energy that commands respect. Others feel your stability, sense that you are not easily swayed, and that stability is more compelling than any boast. Silent pride is the affirmation that you need no external confirmation to know your worth. It is the fruit of self-respect, discipline, and honesty. When you walk with this pride, you not only protect your dignity, but also become a living example for those seeking strength. In a noisy world, the one who holds silent pride is the one whose presence commands the deepest respect. 9. Intelligent skepticism toward all things. In a world overflowing with information where daily we face countless opinions, advertisements, news, and promises, intelligent skepticism is one of the most vital skills for self-preservation. This skepticism is not cynicism or closed-mindedness, but the ability to pause before accepting something as truth. It is the unseen shield that protects you from being carried away by glittering words or groundless ideas. Stoicism regards this skepticism as central to wisdom, for the wise do not rush to believe, nor rush to deny. Practicing intelligent skepticism means asking simple yet powerful questions. Is this true? Who benefits if I believe this? What evidence supports or refutes it? These questions create distance between you and the claim, allowing you to see clearly instead of reacting with fleeting emotion. Epictetus warned us never to accept what is presented too quickly, just as we would not purchase a poor product merely because it was sold persuasively. This spirit is the foundation of intellectual freedom. Intelligent skepticism also protects your emotional energy. Many waste themselves in pointless debates, follow false rumors, or chase trends because they fail to pause and question. When you are skeptical, you filter what truly matters and what deserves to be ignored. You are no longer pulled by the frenzy of the crowd or reduced to a pawn in another's scheme. This control gives you calm and inner strength. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that the mind is dyed by what we let it absorb. Without skepticism, false beliefs easily slip in and shape our view of life. But with discernment, you keep your mind clear, and that is the first step toward living by reason instead of impulse. The intelligently skeptical need not always oppose, but they think independently, and that independence makes them difficult to manipulate. To practice intelligent skepticism is to accept responsibility for what you believe. You cannot control the world's words, but you can control how you receive them. A false belief can misguide an entire life, but a single pause of skepticism can save you from great error. In silence and reason, skepticism becomes strength, helping you stand firm amid the noise and guiding you toward respect earned not through compliance, but through clarity. 10. Listen more than you speak. In a world where everyone seeks attention, wants to be heard, and strives to prove themselves through words, the ability to listen becomes a rare strength. Most people do not truly listen. They simply wait for their turn to respond, to defend their viewpoint, or to tell their own story. That is why those who know how to listen fully stand apart. Stoicism views listening as a mark of wisdom, for it reflects patience, self-control, and humility. Listening more than speaking does not mean you must remain silent or abandon your voice. It means choosing full presence when another person speaks. You look directly at them, notice every detail, not only their words, but their tone, their breath, and their pauses. In that moment, you set aside the urge to counter or perform, and instead focus completely on understanding the true meaning. This is not just communication, but also training the mind to master its natural impatience. Epictetus once reminded us that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen twice as much as we speak. The lesson is clear. The more you listen, the more you learn. You discover what others conceal. You notice contradictions in their story, and most importantly, you sense the emotions behind the words. This allows you to respond with depth and accuracy rather than shallow answers. The one who listens always holds an advantage, for when they speak, their words carry the weight of understanding. Listening more than speaking is also how you earn respect. When you truly listen, the other feels your presence, feels seen and valued. That respect often returns to you. Moreover, within the silence of listening, you train restraint, avoid needless arguments, and keep your composure. To listen more than you speak is an art of living, where silence is treasured as a vital part of communication. It helps you slow down, observe more carefully, and respond with clarity. The one who listens does not need many words to be respected, for their calm attention already gives their presence weight. In the spirit of Stoicism, this is among the highest expressions of wisdom, to use silence for understanding and words only when truly necessary. I believe the greatest difference between the steady and the easily swayed lies in how they choose to respond. A person may speak much and argue long, but without clarity and self-control, those efforts are weak. In contrast, when one holds silence at the right moment, sets boundaries through action, and refuses to be ruled by emotion, their presence alone is enough to command respect. Stoic philosophy teaches that dignity cannot be taken from us unless we surrender it. Respect, therefore, is not something to be pursued, but the natural result of living in harmony with inner principles. When you remain calm, refuse what does not align, and stand firm in your values, you declare that you do not need to prove yourself to the world. I believe it is this calm strength that is the root of power and the true path to lasting respect. If these reflections resonate with you, do not forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you will not miss future content. Remember, in a noisy and chaotic world, true strength does not lie in how loudly you are heard, but in your ability to remain composed and let your silence become the strongest voice. See you in the next video.